Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Parenting and Bonding with Children's Books podcast. This is the seventh episode of our live video podcast, and I'm really excited about that. I think I say that every single time. So, those of you here in the group, you watch it live, and then we send it to your favorite place to podcast and YouTube. We're trying to reach as many parents as possible. That's our goal here. Our message is simple. Books are magical. They transform homes, and they can help strengthen the bonds with our kids. Here on this podcast, we're joined by the authors that make the magic happen behind the books. And we're trying to find out the true intention behind the books. So this evening today, we're joined by author JQ Sirls. Welcome.
Hey, happy to be here. Happy to be here. How are you doing?
Doing well. I'm doing well. You know what? When I scheduled this, I did not even realize, because when we talked at first, we were very much aligned with what our mission is here in the book world and beyond. And I didn't even realize that it was going to be Black History Month.
I know. Right. I was like, timing.
So I was like, wow, we're going to be walking into Black History Month with this conversation, and it's so important. So JQ Sirls is here, and let me just give you guys just a bit of information about him. He's a creative leader working in product development, software development, publishing, animation, bookmarking, just everything, y'all. He's a creative leader, painting, illustration, animation. And we're here today to talk about, number one, his book, The Moon is Following Me, and also his tech startup, Pockettale. And we'll talk about the mission behind those. So if I didn't cover too much, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. You covered the basic. I am a happy husband and father to an awesome 2-year-old named Da Vinci. Really, you covered everything. I just wanted to make sure I did that shout out to them. And and I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. Shout out to KC in the town. I'm in Los Angeles. That's where I live now. But KC stand up because Chiefs.
We can't do that. This is a spotlight on you, but you just went a little bit too far. So let's back that up. So The Moon is Following Me. This is your latest book. It's a magical book. Tell us a bit about The Moon is Following Me.
The Moon is Following Me. I'm going to talk about The Moon is Following Me in kind of two different realms because it has two different purposes. The main one is it's about a little boy who's coming up with conspiracy theories on why he thinks the moon is following him every night. So he's bugging the rest of his family, and he comes up with these wild thoughts. And he's coming to him going, hey, I think this. And they all laugh him off, only to find out by the end of the book that he's right about all of it. And so it kind of goes into that, don't listen to a kid because they're a child, and don't and to really kind of, a chin check an adult when it says like a child may say something ridiculous, but give them a chance because they might be onto something. And then the second one is it's a story about a Black family. It's a Black little boy, his brother, his Black mother, his Black father, and they're just doing things that families like mine did. It's kind of escaping this notion that every story that features a person of color has to be about some oppressive narrative. Like, oh, look at my skin, or look at my hair, or look how I'm this. I'm like, no, they just, they live in a suburban house, drive a Corolla, they're just like the rest of us.
Yeah, and while those books serve a purpose, I think we're pretty on the same page with the importance of just regular storylines that show us, just being us, and allows our children. I know I want my son to be able to read a book and his imagination and creativity to grow. And that's why, storylines like yours are so important. To the first point you said, about chin checking adults and letting them know that, kids are meant to be listened to. I think you chin check adults quite a bit with your mission behind the books and why you write the way you do.
Yes. So my driving purpose, I'm going to be looking up and down because I'm seeing you. So I'm trying to look in the camera at the same time. Okay. But my driving purpose is to become a bridge between adults and children. I go on this thing called Provoke the Child Within. And in that space, it's like, look, we hear too much about people saying our kids are growing up too fast and blaming the media and blaming social media, but really it's our fault because we treat childhood like a curse that we grow out of, and we're forcing kids and we're showing that to kids, right? So it's like, yeah, we want your kid to be everything you can be, and I want you to be a child, but yet you forgot what it's like to be a child, to show them the experience of how cool it is. If you treat childhood like it's cool, then they won't be in a rush to grow up. So what I try to do in my work is create just a bit of nostalgia inside of an adult that makes them fall in love with my work in a way that lets them remember what it's like to be a kid. Like, for example, I don't think of too many people who didn't think the moon was following them when they were kids, who looked outside and were driving to a place and going, the moon is behind me. It's a universal theme that doesn't have a 2020 or 2021 theme. It's kind of, the moon's been around. And so even with this book, I illustrated it specifically to look like a 1920s comic book, just because for all those people, you know, the parents now or grandparents then, they might look at it and have that nostalgia. They may not realize it, but there's that bit of like, I had a comic book that looked like this. And, you know, I had a situation, look, I believe this. And so now when you read it to your kid, there's this part that I awakened in you, hopefully, that you enjoy reading the book because it attaches to the kid within yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's my theme throughout every book I've ever made and I will ever make. You'll always see that in there.
Yeah, I read a couple articles that you did, you know, of course, before we spoke, and I saw that, you know, I was looking at Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
And and how you feel about Willy Wonka and what, you know, just what you said about this book here, The Moon is Following Me, and trying to create the magic and the nostalgia, and the way Willy Wonka was able to do the same thing, really drive out of adults, you know, what he wanted to. I'm speaking a little too much. Can you tell me just a bit about Willy Wonka, what he means, what his story meant to you, and how it drives your creativity?
Yeah. So for me personally, I am the most inspired by Willy Wonka. I know that sounds crazy and it sounds silly, but the story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to me was the blueprint. I mean, when you really think about the story and you get rid of all the silliness and things like this, you have a man who was inspired by his own work, his own factory. He created a space. And if you think about, let's think about interior design, even in the space that, like, imagine having a space where you can be home and you created a space to where it inspires you to create even more. That's cool. That's cool. But then what Willy Wonka was able to do, if you pay attention to the story, is think about it, one adult and one child. You couldn't get the ticket and just come as a kid. You had to specifically bring one adult, and it was that one adult and a child. And inside of this factory, they had to basically come together and experience all of Wonka's things for the first time, right? Together. Wonka created that. Now I look at that and I go, if we can substitute chocolate for experiences, right? Could I do what he did? Can I build an empire, right? That's solely based on bringing adults and children together from a core concept. And Willy Wonka's concept is candy, because candy is the universal thing that connects adults and kids. But can I do that through story? Can I do that through illustration? Can I do that through animation? And so that has been my driving kind of weird inspiration since I saw Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as a kid. I saw him and I was like, I want to be like him. I do think that Disney started that path. I think that Steve Jobs even kind of took that path. I even think to some degree, Dr. Seuss was trying to get there before he passed. But it's like, I'm looking at it as like, you know what, I'll take that baton because I got some ideas and let's see if they turn out to, you know, hopefully like I planned at 7 years old when I started this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. You know, it's funny. We were just talking about in the group just recently, Dr. Seuss, and a lot of the things that, and I told them I was going to address Dr. Seuss during Black History Month to talk about diversity in children's books. So it's even funny that you know, talked about it just now. And we were talking about just Dr. Seuss as a racist and how his stories have embedded themselves in the culture of America, but they've also affected so many homes in a good way. Because I don't know one adult that hasn't read a Dr. Seuss book, right? Because now when we look at it today, you know, a lot of people know that, you know, that he's racist, but it's hard to get rid of those books. But I think it's so important. And one of the missions that I know you have in normalizing diversity is to put more stories into the universe. Like
Yes.
more people need to have a platform to share their
Yes.
stories so
Yes.
that it's not so hard to let go of classics that should no longer be in our children's view, right?
Yeah, well, I kind of challenge that a little bit,
Hmm.
and because there's a bit of irony with me and Dr. Seuss, even in
Okay.
the space of knowing what his past was. I mean, I
Okay.
can show you just like that, right? That's Cat in the
Hmm.
Hat on my arm.
Yeah.
The When I think about Dr. Seuss, because let's be real, Disney was too. Okay, and so if I look at who he was and what he did, then I can say, oh, you know what? Like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And in that space, I go, Dr. Seuss, the person. No, I don't really want to fool with. Dr. Seuss, the person, I'm not going to really mess around with. But I can also tell you I learned how to read from Dr. Seuss. I can
Hmm.
tell you that Green Eggs and Ham taught me how to read because I liked it. So it's it's not so much in celebrating the human being than it is celebrating reading in the space that this person, regardless of his intention, regardless if he meant to or not, created a form of literacy within Black kids, who taught themselves how to read. Who did some of us didn't have, like somebody that was really interested in books and to be like Green Eggs and Ham or the Grinch and things like that. I look at stories like that and I go, I'm gonna forget you. You know what I mean? And if you were here, I hear. But I will say that this character, right, is one of the leads in what got me writing books. But it also there's a challenge there, right? Because for me, it is Dr. Seuss, specifically Cat in the Hat and Green Eggs and Ham, and Where the Wild Things Are, Peter Pan, Wizard of Oz, and think about it. All those are written by white people, right?
Hmm.
But let's look at it like this though. Let's take that for a second and go, yeah, that's true. And that's messed up. At the same time, let's look at that and go, there's an opportunity there. So why
Hmm.
don't we see what he did, what they did outside of the mess? Dr. Seuss was able to take a very limited amount of words that only certain amount of kids can understand and wrote books that rhymed and had the right kind of onomatopoeia, the right kind of weirdness and the right kind of strangeness to speak directly to a child. Yes, forget him. Look at that. What can we take from that? Right? What can I take from Peter Pan? Even though Peter Pan and had no black holes in it, it would mean it was like a Peter Pan. But there was something in there that we can borrow and go, okay, what can we remix? Well, how can we hip hop this, right? And take and
Yeah.
take samples and make a new beat, right? And so I look at it
Hmm.
and I go, you know what? I'm gonna take what he did and I want to make a new beat out of it. I'm gonna make a new thing out of it, and then from there, open it up. But I do think that to some degree, if Dr. Seuss lived today, would he be that way, or was it really tied to the time? I don't know. But what
I
I can
don't.
tell you is that the book did.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like what his work did, and I honor what his work did. Forget the person.
So yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. I agree. You
Mhm.
cannot erase the magic of what Dr. Seuss's books did, right? But what we can do is we can put more options into the space.
Bingo.
Okay. And,
Bingo.
there are certain books and, certain authors, and we talk about, not
Yes.
celebrating a man, but celebrating the
Yeah.
magic. The magic is
Yeah.
there. We can't erase that.
Yeah.
But I think that like your tech startup, Pockettale,
Yes.
and what
Yes.
you're trying to do will give a
Yes.
platform to people whose stories need to be told.
Bingo.
Okay.
Yes. That's what comes down to. I'm not sure would you have more to say. I think that what you were leading to the
Nope,
me
you can go
talking
right
about it.
ahead.
Okay. So um here's how I can think about that. There was something that annoyed me in college. And that was when people talk about Shakespeare, they say Shakespeare's the greatest that ever was. Or they talk about Dr. Seuss, Dr. Seuss is the greatest that ever was. When really no, they weren't. They were pedestals for us to pass, right? Shakespeare came so that somebody else could take that and go better, right?
Mhm.
That's what they did. And so for me, I started working on books as a way to bring a level of diversity that I didn't see. What I told you guys earlier, bringing adults and kids together, but it was also so that I could create the books that I didn't see for Black kids,
Mhm.
right? But then as I started to explore that even more, I found out that not only were Black kids left out, but so were Hispanic kids, so were Native American kids, so were Hindu kids, so were handicapped. So it was so many kids. And I started to look at it and I go, okay, well, how would I solve this? How would I solve this? And it wouldn't be to become a publishing company, because publishing companies, if you really pay attention to a publishing company, the traditional ones, and I know they're gonna be mad at me about this, but I don't care because they need to die. And that is the way that they exploit people, and then also the way that they leave diversity out. They exploit diversity and then they leave diversity out. I can tell you like this. The average book published by a traditional publisher, you're lucky to get 5 cents on the dollar of the books that you sell, right? There's already that. But then I will say this, my first book, The Moon and the No Monster No, when I first sent it out to publishers, do you know what they told me? They told me that they didn't think that my book captured the Black experience enough, right? Because I wasn't talking about certain oppressive things. No Monster No is about a little girl who takes the monster under her bed to school and teaches him manners. And they didn't think that it needed to be about race, needed to be about hair, when it was just about a monster under the bed. And so I was like, I don't want to create a publishing company, because I think that no matter what, you're going to become the enemy, because the business model of publishing is built to cater to what you like, because you only have so much of a budget. And so if I only have 50 grand this year, I can only publish so many books so that I can give them the best chance, right? So no matter what, over a number of years, I'm going to end up being just as non-diverse, because I'm publishing only what I know, right? It's just how it's built. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to create software so that people can create their own publishing companies. Everything that I learned. So what I started to do was, I'm like, I realized in order for me to do this, I think I'm on my 5th book. I'm on my 6th book right now. But I did all of that not to become a best-selling author. I did it because I wanted to know how hard it was to self-publish, and then try to find a way to box it all in a way that all of you who ever dreamed of making a story can make that story for $0 or $16.99 a month, but not $10,000. The average book right now, if you self-publish it, to do it right, is probably going to be about 30 grand. I want that to be 0, or at bare minimum $100 a year. Right. And so that way now, because if you think about it, in order to address diversity, you have to address classism. Right. You know what I mean? And then with classism, you have to address finance. You know what I mean? That the finance. And so I look at it and I go, okay, I want to show these people how to make a book so that they can make the best book they've ever made to reach the audience that they need to reach. And I'm thinking about parts of Pockettale that I can't talk about yet, because I was going to spill the beans on that. But I am trying to work on eliminating a certain point of search. So like right now, if you go to Amazon, in order to find a book that matches your child, you almost have to go to page 865, and good luck finding the book there. And so what we're working on now is a way to eliminate search, so that way you can say, hey, for example, my son, he's 2, his name is Da Vinci. He likes cars, and he doesn't like peas and broccoli. And so I can put that in Pockettale, and only books that represent my son will come to my son. Right. So now I don't have to worry so much about searching. The books will find me. And so we're working on that. But in order to do that, we are first making it easy for all of you to make a book in less than 20 minutes. And that's the goal.
That's beautiful. I love what you said about bringing the books to you. So this is what I do, like in the group. And, people come to me to find books. They tell me about their child and their characteristics, and I give them a list of books that I think that their child, would like. But that's not scalable, right?
No.
So what you're doing is amazing. And when that happens, let me know, because I'll be the first one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's also the point too, right? Is because a lot of these apps, if you pay attention, even Amazon, that has a lot of self-published, they still put a lot of focus on the people who traditionally publish. But the problem is that the numbers in traditionally published, I forget what the numbers, I think you might have put it at the bottom. It was less than 50% of books are less than 50% of books are diverse, but less than 50% of that number are actually created by diverse authors. So in these traditional houses, you're seeing these books come out that feature Black kids, but they're not even written by Black kids. You're seeing books about Asian kids that aren't even written by Asian writers, right? So what I'm saying is, in Pockettale, it is focused on self-publishing. Yes, traditional people may be there, but it's like, hey, I'm looking for this book and I want you, right? Like, you're like, hey, I'm trying to find this book for my kid. Cool. Now that if I can't find a book for my kid, you're going to see a big button that says not finding the book that you're looking for, write it. And then when you click that button, Pockettale, the creator, is going to come up for you to create the book that you couldn't find. Like, that's the whole point, is make what you can't find. You're upset about that, you become the author and we will help you.
My whole screen,
She
everything
came out
is
of the
like,
space.
can
That,
you hear
oh,
me?
hey, we did. Hey, I picked up the bar. We was there. We was right there. We was there.
Thank you so much. No,
Mm-hmm.
you're excellent. This, I know you did. You carried it without me being here. So I thought I lost everything for good. Computer was going to shut down.
Oh man, I was about to say, all right, well, hey, well, I'm gonna have to carry the baton for you.
Yeah, no, this is really good. And what was the last, if you can remember
The
the last
last
thing
part
you
that I was
said?
talking, yeah, it was basically just saying that, hey, as far as Pockettale is concerned, it's all about it's all about the self-publisher. It's all about the person who wants to make the book that they didn't see.
Hmm.
The thing is, like, when you go into Pockettale, if you're going to Pockettale when the marketplace opens, because we're going to start the creator part first, so that all of you can create a book. But let's say, the marketplace is open, and you go in there and you're trying to find a book for your daughter because your daughter is, let's say she's what, Black and Korean, and she doesn't like Wonder Woman, and she only likes superhero, male superhero. Let's say that's just nuances, right? And
Hmm.
as you go, Pockettale doesn't come up with a book. You go, hey, we don't have a book that matches your exact desires for your child, but we have these other books. But there will be a button that comes in that says, do you want to create that book? Right. And so in this space now, it is, hey, I'm not seeing the diversity I want. So the thing is as we always been saying, especially in the Black community, is just like, hey, if you're gonna complain, then here's a solution. So we're gonna say, hey, that book doesn't exist. This book for that specific child is not here. Do you want to create it? And when you click that button, the Pockettale creator is going to come up for you to make the book that wasn't there. So that next time a parent asks, your book is going to show up to give you some money, but also to create that diversity. And that is how we fight the system, right? Because see, here's what happens from that. And this is what I love. Say you're on Pockettale, you put your story in, and let's say it was a story. Let's say you tried to go to a publisher, and the publisher said, "No, we don't think this story is going to work because it dealt with, let's say it was like a Korean lawyer that wanted to be like a Korean child that wanted to be a lawyer. Let's say it was just something weird, and the publisher was like, "No, we don't think it'll work." Well, you can come back to them and say, "Well, I put that story on Pockettale, and it gets read 5,000 times a week." Well, see, now that publisher has to sit and ask themselves, am I not publishing this book and I'm not supporting this book because I'm prejudiced? Because it can't be about numbers no more. You can't complain that I don't think there's nobody going to read it. Because
Yeah.
in Pockettale's whole point is to find your audience. Your audience, literally, it'll find the audience.
Hmm.
And so in there, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm hoping that we make publishers so angry that they have to step up to the plate or perish. And that's the goal.
Okay. So we talk about personalizing or curating
Mm-hmm.
books
Yeah.
for children. I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested in your answer to this. Why is it
Yes.
so important for a child to have a book selected for them?
Uh, when you say selected for them, what do you mean? Like,
Why is it so important to personalize that experience?
oh, well, I think I think it's for all of us. It's like, let's put it like this: if I'm 5'9", I'm about 160 pounds, fairly skinny, skinny big as they call it. And for me, when I go to the store to find clothing, if I see it all only on more heavy set guys or really buff guys, then how am I going to know that outfit works on me? How will I know? I
Hmm.
mean, and in this space, I'm gonna have to try it on, but a book you can't try on, right? So if you want a child to see themselves as incredible, then you have to show them what incredible looks like with somebody like them, right? You
Yeah.
have like, let's see. For me, luckily, I mean, I was inspired by Willy Wonka just because I'm weird like that. But another kid might need to see me as Willy Wonka to see themselves as Willy Wonka.
Hmm.
I remember when Barack Obama became president. I don't want to become president, but when he did become president, I did feel like at that moment, my dreams are possible because his were, right? Um, I mean, to some degree, we already see that with, I mean, I think Black Panther, things like this. It's like you got these kids. I mean, it happens to white kids all the time, right? They see Peter Pan, they see all these things and they go, I can do that. And we have to kind of like imagine a Black person to do it to be able to see ourselves. But I think it's important that I think that it's important that kids see themselves, but they need to see themselves as more. That's what I was trying to get to that place, is more than just a skin color, more than just struggle. I think that it's important that we know our history, but let's just be honest. There's probably a million Martin Luther King books, so they're there. You know what I mean? So I think now it's time to see, like, I'm looking for that story. Like, think about when, like, a story like Toy Story, where one of the toys are Black and no one bats an eye, because that's what I'm really looking forward to, right? I'm looking for when diversity no longer matters. Like, when it's not cool, when it's not a catchphrase, when it's not a marketing tactic anymore. It's just, oh yeah, of course. That's when we won, right? When it's not, you're not getting extra money because it's diverse. What do you mean?
Yeah.
That's when we made it. And that's what I'm looking for, is when we can be interjected in stories and it's no big deal. It's of course they are. Of course it is. Because we don't think about that. When we see a white story with white characters and the white guy with the blonde hair is the lead, we all know it. We can guess it. Like, oh, okay, Guardian of the Galaxy is coming out and Peter Quill is white. Of course we knew that. But if Peter Quill was Black, we go, oh snap, Peter Quill is Black. No, I want it to be the same. I want to be like, of course he's Black. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be that same energy.
Yeah. Okay. So at the with Pockettale, you talked about inviting people searching for books to share their own story on your platform, correct? So I know that you have a course where you teach people how to make better picture books, right? Knowable. There's currently a wait list for it.
Yes. I'm recording it now. Okay. So Make Better Picture Books is actually an initiative by Pockettale. I call it Make Better Picture Books because it's about self-publishing, but it's about making better picture books than had you to go into a traditional publisher. So what it is and I want to be clear, like, yes, I have an issue with traditional publishers, but if that's where you want to go, fine. But I want you to know your equity if you do go. So what I think is like, by teaching this course called Make Better Picture Books, I'm going to show you all of the things that come across in making an award-winning, I'm talking about the stuff that Publishers Weekly goes crazy for: hardback cover, illustrations, the right texture, the right paper, the right story, how to come up with a story that makes even you laugh, and how to come up with and makes a child laugh. I'm going to show you how to do all of that yourself, how to find an editor, how to find a proofreader, how to understand design, how to understand layout, how to deal with manufacturers, how to deal with distribution. I'm going to show you how to do all of that, right? So then I want it to be now that you know how to do it and you know how to figure it out, that when a traditional publisher comes to you and they say, well, this is what we do, I want you to say, well, I know how to do that. So what are you going to do? Actually, but what are you going to do that I can't already do? Right. And I look at it like that. And so when they come, they say, well, this is what we do. You be like, I can do that too. So that way, you know your worth, you know what you can bring to the table, just you. So when they come to you and they say, we're going to take 60% of the sales of your book, you can go, not for what I can already do. They need to add something else to the table. And that's what I want you to make better picture books. I'm going to show all of you how to do it, because that's how we diversify, right? I want that quality. I want to see that quality crazy, so crazy that no one right now, when you think of self-published books, the average person, when they say this book is self-published, you think of it as a downgraded quality. It's a universal thing that the quality is probably not going to be as good as HarperCollins. I'm telling you now, if you guys go see my books, I self-published all of them, and I know I beat HarperCollins. I know I did. Right. And so therefore, I now want to show you how to do it so we can change what self-published means. Right. We can say, yeah, this book is self-published. And they go, well, shoot, it might, because it's self-published, it might be a little better because now it's a little more diverse. It can do the things that the major publishers are pushing away. And so, that's my hope. So you guys sign up. Knowable has I think it's right now in Noble, it's online courses, but it's online courses straight through audio. So that while you guys are driving or washing dishes or doing whatever you're doing, you listening to the course. It's a very cool new medium, and I think it's a subscription. I think it's like $4.99 a month, but there's already a couple of courses on there on entrepreneurship, on like how to create a podcast. There's all these things on there, so you guys can waitlist my course while you got take other courses and learn other really amazing things. So it's really cool.
I think I'll be right in this course.
I hope so. And with that also, Make Better Picture Books, I will be launching a larger thing for Make Better Picture Books that'll come with a lot of resources, because I do feel like the industry is very fragmented in the space of making books. Like, you see articles about how to make a children's book, but it's kind of like, everything always ends with how to find an illustrator and how to find an agent and how to find a publisher. And I'm like, how about how to deal with China, or how to deal with India, how to understand paper quality, or what you should look for in words. I want to show you how to do it yourself. I want to show entrepreneurialism in publishing so that you own your power, you own your diversity, you own your message. And so I'm gonna create more things around it outside of just the course. It's gonna be a lot of resources that I want to give to you guys. A lot of it's gonna be for free. So get
Wonderful.
ready. Yeah.
You know they like tearing free.
Right. We all do $3.99.
Yes. So we're almost at the end of time,
Yeah.
and this has been so good. Thank you so much for sharing with us, JQ. Before we go, I'm going to check the comments for any questions, but is there anything else that you want to share?
Yes. I've said this, but I'm gonna say it again. No, I didn't say it in here. I didn't say it in the group. I say this normally. If I were to have everyone watching this right now to create a short story about their preschool life, right? While a lot of you may have a similar concept, each one of you will have a different perspective, right? And the problem is that when it comes to major publishing, maybe only a handful of you guys will get the marketing dollars and the budget to actually go toward larger publishing, even though all of you would be the perfect perspective for at least 1,000 children, right? So what I want you guys to know is, if you have a story, that story deserves to come out. It needs to come out. Don't be selfish. Don't hold that story in. Get out of your fear, right? Because there's somebody that cares about that. There's some child that needed to see it. There's some parent that needed to see it. So I want you guys to know that you are capable. You are capable. You can do it. I know it feels weird, and is your story good enough? It's good enough. Some kid, have you been to kids' YouTube? It's some of the worst videos I've ever seen that got millions of views. The worst things I've ever seen, and millions of views. So that means that there's an audience for everything. You just need to start. And starting doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could just be just a little bit. But going forward and falling forward is still forward. You got this. And if you don't think you got it and you need a little bit of help, that's why I'm here, right? That's why, you know what I mean? This podcast exists. It's to give you that oomph. You got this. You can do it. You can do it.
And we're not just talking to the authors in the group either. The majority of the people in our group are parents, and you have stories that your kids want to hear. My mother talks about all the time, writing for her grandchildren. Your stories, your family stories, need to be shared.
And everybody got a story about their kid. I'm thinking about. I've been writing children's books, but I can tell you some funny stories about my son today that I think will have everybody crying. In a way that wants them to just read it over again. You'd be surprised how capable you are and how much it's necessary that your perspective be seen, because that's really diversity, right? It's not so much about a race and class, and it is about interest and perspective, and your perspective needs to be seen. So let it be seen.
Yeah. Thank you. If you guys want to see more from JQ, I put his website information here. He's on IG, Twitter, and Facebook under JQ Sirls. You can check out the course on Knowable that's on the screen now. It's called Make Better Picture Books. You can sign up for the wait list. And before we go, I will just tell you that you can listen to JQ. How often does your podcast come on?
We don't know yet. The first one. So I started a podcast, you guys. It's called The Audacity to Fail. And in that space of audacity, it's like we all kind of get nervous to start something, but every dream comes with a storm, right? Every single dream comes with a storm. So it's not so much as do you have the courage to start, but do you have the courage to fail? Because you're going to fail. Failure is normal. You're going to fail. So accept the failure. The first episode was yesterday, February 1st. And right now I'm just worried. I'm just trying to get content out. So I don't know what the comment schedule is. We're still trying to figure it out. Right now, it's just getting it out there and inspiring people. And then maybe around like episode 10, I don't know what the schedule is. but right now, I just want it to sound amazing. I want it to feel amazing. And if that might be every 2 weeks or so right now, it might be. But we'll know. But definitely go in there because it will be pretty regular. I just know if it'll be every Thursday, every Friday, every other Monday. I don't know yet.
Well, regardless, if you guys go on there and you subscribe, you'll be notified when more content from JQ is coming out. I'll just go over real quick to the comments. People are just saying hello. Somebody said that's a word of encouragement that she needed, I guess, maybe to write a book. Is that what you're saying? She said, "Thank you, young sir. Thank you so much for that."
Sure.
And your other books, all your books are on Amazon. I'll put
Yeah.
links
Yeah.
in the group, and also, when we put it on YouTube and streaming
Yeah.
platforms. I
Mhm.
know JQ, correct me if I'm wrong, you have It All Started When,
Yes.
right? The Moon is Following
Mm.
Me, No
Mhm.
Monster No, and the Book of
Mhm.
Imaginary Friends. Now, you
Uh,
said you
yeah.
had two more?
Yes. So there's another book that I illustrated. It's called Hair,
Yeah, we know
and
about
that
hair.
one, oh, really? Okay. Well, you guys know about Hair. So really, okay. So you guys, so you know about the book Hair.
Hair is how
Angela
I
Styles.
found you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the hair is there. And then I'm working on a book now called Big Blue,
Okay.
and it's about the world's first 90-foot tall dream who's having a hard time finding a child who believes he exists. So it's kind of turning it
Hmm.
around by, instead of saying like we're looking for our dream, it's that dreams are looking for us. And this dream, because he's so big, everyone's afraid to see that he exists, except for one little boy in the end, and who's courageous enough to take on the big dream and follow through. So I'm excited for that one. That one is actually I've already written the short film for it, and I'm working on the series for it. So I'm actually writing so many things about it because when it comes out, I'm gonna try to pitch it to Netflix and let it be a little bit more than just a book. That's my hope.
Well, we're
Yeah.
behind that. I've seen some of your, first of all, yes, you are writing to the parents, because when you said that, I'm sure many people watching right now were like, I need that book. Number
Yeah.
two, I watched
Hmm.
what is it called? Correct me. The short intro that you did for The Moon is Following Me. You did like a 90s sitcom kind of flow to
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was so good. You guys have to
Thank
go
you.
on his Instagram, JQ
Yeah.
Sirls, and check that out. It was so, like, I was watching it like, oh, this is nostalgic. It was so
Yeah.
good.
I actually did it from I actually tried to copy Family Matters, the intro to Family Matters. And so I wanted to have
Okay.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was to have that kind of nostalgic feel. That one is the read to me book, actually. So some of you that may just want to be able to have the book that you can play to your kids and have it play. I believe if you look up The Moon is Follow Me in Vimeo or like Google it, you'll see it there, and you guys can kind of get it. It's like $2.99. So get it, download it, and then play it back to back. It's really funny. I
Yeah,
voice it
it is
myself.
very funny. It
Mm.
is very funny. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you so much, JQ, for being here with me.
Yeah,
This
no
was
problem.
such a good talk. Bye,
No problem.
everybody.
I believe in you. I believe in you. I know I
We
don't
will
know you,
do.
but I believe in you. Do it. Have a good one.
Bye.